is just bullshit. The South was not the only ones that had slaves. The North had more slaves than the South. The North had blacks fighting their war. And when the war was over, the North kicked the blacks aside and took care of the white people that were injured. The North American people were for the white people. The South had rich people that had slaves. You had to be rich in order to have a slave. That was rare. Back then, it was less than 100 people that had slaves. Because back then, there weren't that many people. If you think about it and you look back, there weren't no hundreds of millions of people in this country back then. It was maybe 10 million, maybe. But, you know, they didn't grow until later. When it started out, there was not that many in this country that had slaves. The North had more slaves than the South. Any of you black people, go up north. That you're living in the South, go up north and see how they look at you and talk to you and treat you. Guarantee you, there's more racist up north than there is in the South. The North has to have everybody hating the South. This U.S. government is of the North American government. It was turned into the U.S. government after 1865 when they took control over South America. Whoever wins the war rewrites history in their own way that they want you to believe it happened. And you believe them. And you don't question. There were more rich people that had slaves in the North. And the ones that came to the South to get, they came to the South. I believe they came to the South to get away from slavery in the North. And I think they twisted it around to make the South look bad. Because they defeated the South, who wanted to break away from North America, secede, separate, be two again, not one. And the North said, fuck you. We're going to tyrannically go to war with you and force you to be a part of us. And they came through South America and they burned down the homes of South Americans with the women and children, pregnant women, babies, infants, toddlers. No South American, you won't find it in history, went up north and started a war with any state up, well, to the side. They was on the side and they had California. They was in the east and they had California. There was no north up at top. It was on the east side. All the way down towards Louisiana. Or Georgia and all that right there. They've been lying to you. The North America was on the east side. It should have been called East America. South Americans is in the south to the east. Texas, well, before Texas, but on over. And then they took over Texas and got a little close, more to the left, to the west. And they didn't, and the South didn't enslave Mexicans. I think they even lied that Southerners even, had slaves. And if anyone in the South had slaves, it's because they moved from the North and came to the South, maybe because they were freer here. But they were free to have slaves too because there was no law against slavery. It is not a North American government. It is not a U.S. government. It was an East government, Eastern government. It was all along the East Coast. So that's history. Look it up. It began the North, what they call, which is misinformation. North America is actually Eastern America. So think about that. There wasn't North and South like you think. It was Eastern and Southeastern. South to Southeastern. But you can go as South. And it was Northeast all the way down the East Coast to Southeast, towards Southeast. So it's Northeast, Eastern government, and Southeastern government. Yeah. Think about that.